And we're live. Welcome back to another Corona Geek, here where we talk all about mobile app development using Corona SDK. I'm your host, Charles McKeever, and today is the 100th episode of Corona Geek. Which there won't be cake and balloons until next week, because next week we're going to have a Corona Labs panel along with the regulars here, the crew that's always on, and we're going to answer questions and do that sort of thing then, and actually kind of like I guess like celebrate that, do something special then. We're trying to get the public release out in advance of these changes that Google are making to AdMob, so we needed to shift that by at least 1 week so everybody could have all that done and then be able to join us on Monday. But this is great. Look at that. It's got the cake out. I said no cake, Ed. This is fantastic. I love that we've been able to record 100 shows together. It's been fantastic. You guys have been here every week alongside me, and it's been very encouraging. And I just want to thank you guys for being here. Brian, I want to thank you for being here from the beginning. You were the very first person to be on the panel, and it's
been a blast.
That was huge. Jen, you've been here every week, and I appreciate that. And Greg's always in the background doodling, so thanks for that. And Sergey, you've been here, so thanks for that, all the way from Russia. Appreciate it. And Ed, I don't have words for you.
It's so crazy.
Well, and as a panel member, I want to take a moment and talk about, just for a second, how much Charles does in preparation for each one of these shows. As panelists, we get emails early the week before about what we're going to cover and finding good guests, and if we can't find good guests, then it's us, and we've got to do the research, and Charles has really done a great job of organizing this and keeping everything flowing smoothly and well put together. And so I just want to honor our host of the show for just a moment, that for 100 episodes he's kept this going smoothly.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, like I said before, I said that on Twitter. I said it's really a joy to be here. It's just an honor. And
every Saturday you send a tweet, join us on Monday, and every Saturday I get scared. Is it Monday already?
Right. Yeah. And you guys stepping up and filling in when there's not so much to talk about or whatever. It's been fantastic. I mean, it's been really encouraging, and I appreciate it a lot, because the Corona Geek concept is really about the community. It's about everybody being a Corona geek. So you guys have always filled that role, and I really appreciate it. So let's move on to some other things that we've got to talk about here, because we've got lots to talk about. If you didn't get a chance to watch last week's show, it was all about Copacabana. It was all about compliance with AgeCheck, using AgeCheck. And if you guys haven't checked out their site, go to AgeCheck, AGECHEQ.com. They've got a lot of information over there to educate you about COPA. And you can also go back and watch show number 99. Now that was an interesting show. I think it scared the crap out of a butt, to put it as politely as possible. And so it's definitely something to go investigate and learn more about. But I don't know. I think it's an ever expanding topic. It seems like there's always something new, which is why these shows are so important. There's always something new to pick from the community. So if you haven't seen that link that's been passed around, I will definitely put it in the show notes for this show, and go check it out and leave your question. We need your questions. We want to know what it is that you want us to talk about during this 1 hour hangout. And like I said, it's going to be Corona Labs panelists, and it's also going to be I think I have a screen here. Got a bunch of announcements, and I want to kind of do them visually. So I got a couple different screens going on. Sorry. I need 3 screens. I got 2 screens going on now. So we've got Red Beach Games is in Rio. They're in Rio de Janeiro. They're going to be doing a meetup on July 31st at 7:30. I think we should all go. We should definitely all go. I will be dressed in.
Conference will be in English, so any of you can come as well.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Okay. Yeah, they had one of the organizers had reached out and said, "Hey, if you'll be in the area, we'll help you with get your visa all set up and stuff like that." So seriously, if anybody's interested and they're going that direction and they want to find out more, we'll put a link in the show notes. I think it would be great to participate. And let's see what else we got. Eye-catching, like there's all these icons and things to kind of pique your interest. And I don't know, I just like this theme. I like the way he's got so much going on, and he provides so much value, and it doesn't get buried, down deep in some sort of columns and rows format. I really like it. Great. I mean, obviously you're going to want the book, because once you get the examples, then you're going to be like, okay, how does this work? Right. So you're going to need the text. But yeah, scroll through the book and look. You can see all the different things that are covered. And did you say you just updated? I'm sorry. Did you say that you updated and added something else?
I've updated and added to the first book that I wrote, the beginning mobile.
I recommend Brian's book to anybody who asks for books on Corona.
Excellent. Hey, you should have a testimonial section there.
I should. I've thought about posting people who have published apps after reading the book and have a link to their apps. So I may have to get busy on that.
That would be great. Yeah.
To get a personal assistant to take care of
Yes, you need to get busy on that.
It's either write books.
Screen share, and we'll do this desktop. That should work. Move that. Okay, so it's like I said, it's an open source game with the idea of teaching you some different elements of Corona. So if we open it up, I'm assuming you guys can see this, correct? And there's a words game system. So it's got all the pieces for how the dictionary and the words are generated, or the letters are generated. So everything that you need is here. So nice. I thought that was I thought that was nice. It would and so they just put that out open source. So so if you get a chance, go check those guys out. Also, since I have the screen share up, I'll just leave it. Spiral Code Studio. Thank you, Sergey, for posting your pro tips. If you guys haven't had a chance to check this out, Sergey put out a pro tip on how to do basically like a switch statement, but using functions. So, Sergey, do you have anything to add on that?
No, it's very documented on that page on Lua users.org.
Okay. SMS App Install. I guess you guys maybe have seen examples of this. You go to a website, and then you put in your you put in your phone number, and then it sends you a link via SMS. You tap on that link, and then it takes you, and you can install the app. This is usually, pretty. I don't know. I think it's pretty nifty. What do you guys think? Have you used that before? Does anybody have any thoughts about it? Nope.
I don't text.
You don't text?
Do not text. I don't have a plan for it, so it's for the young children. It's for sale.
Really? That's interesting.
I have 2 teenagers, and I'm not paying for it.
Anybody? What? Okay, that's interesting. Anybody else got thoughts about that? Because I'm of the opinion that I don't want to talk to anybody.
That too.
I mean, not to be rude, but sometimes the communications are more efficient. If I just text message you, like I can say everything I need to say, and we can kind of have we can get right down to it, and we don't need to have a phone call. I don't need to, hey, how are you?
See your mug.
What's that?
I don't have to see your mug via Skype.
Yeah. Well, there's sometimes you don't need a whole conversation. You just need 140 characters. So. Okay, so anyway, over on Aptaman, they had this blog post about setting up SMS app installs. So I'll put a link in the show notes. But if you go through and read it, it's a very good article. I mean, they kind of talk about the merits of using a badge, and then they go into mobile distribution and why you might want to do it through SMS. And then at the bottom here, they give some code, and they're using the service Twilio, and essentially setting up a web form where the user can put in their phone number and then get a text message with a link, which I think is actually kind of cool because you could share this with someone else as well, right? So you could say, oh, this is, Bob's been looking for this exact thing, or Jane was just talking about that the other day, and you just pop in their phone number and spam them with it, and say, and that way they get a link to it. But it's pretty easy to set up. I mean, regardless of what you're trying to accomplish or how you want to implement it, it's pretty easy to set up. So here, let me bring it up. I've got the code that they provide on the blog post works, but it had some formatting issues when I pulled it offline. So
it sends a message as this service, so it's your friend will not be seeing your name, right? Yeah.
I mean, that might be kind of a cheeky example that I was talking about, sending somebody.
Well, looks like a spam.
Yeah, let's see here. I mean, let me just show you. So, wow, that's really big. Why did they get so big? Wow, that's cool. Corona simulator, like huge. Okay, wait a minute. Oh no, wait. Oh, that's not the simulator. Wait a minute. Close that. This is it's reflector. Sorry, this reflector's like making it huge.
I love it.
It's a Windows
The
phone.
screen is blown up.
That is crazy. Okay, hold on. Let me just.
The awkward moment when your mobile device screen is much larger than your primary screen.
Oh wow. Okay, it's just the app itself. Let me quit the app. Okay, so I'm using Reflector. Okay, this is a totally ad hoc show here. We're just making stuff up as we go. So I've got to turn it on. Okay, there it is. Now it's normal size. I went from a smaller monitor to a larger monitor, and for some reason it just made it huge. What were we talking about again? Oh yeah. So
Flavor for president. I think that's what.
So here's an example of it. It's just on a web page. There's nothing to it. And we'll walk through the code in just a second. But basically, you put your phone number in. And let me bring up the reflector, which was the whole purpose. There we go. So get your link. I've set it up so that it gives me like a little message that says, that it sent it. But then over here, so there's my text message. So if you want, you can customize the message. So in this particular example, you're getting just the man, I'm all over the place. You're getting just this message here, but this is what Twilio is actually sending for you as a default. So right now it's got this trial. I'm on a trial account, so it says, hey, this is sent from your trial account, but if you wanted to, you could customize that message. So let's look at the code for that. So if we bring that up, let me make it a little bigger because it's kind of small. Then it really just kind of consists of, let me just make it across there. It really consists of just a couple of files. One is your web form. So you've got some JavaScript here that essentially does kind of like a little postback, kind of an AJAX kind of thing, and sends your submit to the server. Because I don't know if you guys noticed, but over here on this page, we're still here on the page. We didn't leave. So if I were to come to the landing page for this app, put my number in, hit the button, you may or may not want to send somebody to a totally different page. You might want to give them a confirmation, or you might want to do whatever. But let's just say they're going to get the text message instantly almost. You don't really need to take them off to a new location. So you can kind of do that in the background, and they do that here with using jQuery. And then you have just
Corona.
And you just have an HTML form. Yeah. What are you talking about? Doing it in an app?
Hmm?
You talking about doing it in an app?
No, I mean in general, this code, you don't need web page. You can send this from your Corona application, right?
Yeah, true. Yeah, yeah. You could. This Twilio, their service, works with a variety of different platforms. But yeah, this is just for this example is from a web page.
Okay.
So yeah, so you get your form, pretty standard code, and then the other part of it is this send notification.php file, which in this file it's basically communicating with Twilio's library. So when you first set everything up, you're going to download this thing called a Twilio folder, Twilio-php folder, which has all these other folders in it. It's got all these support files. So you've got everything for, I think there's some files in here for SSL and credentials, and I mean it's all these support files. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. All you have to do is just drop the Twilio folder in your either in your root or a subfolder or whatever, and then in your send notifications.php file, you're going to reference it. So whatever the file path is for that, you'll just reference it, and then you put in your SSID from Twilio and your auth token, and we'll look at where to get those in just a moment. But you need those two pieces of information, and you need your phone number, and Twilio will automatically generate a phone number for you that you can use for this. And then if you want, this is the meat of it. You go in and put whatever you want for that communication. So if we went back to, I think we went back to my screen here on my phone. They automatically inject sent from your Twilio trial account, right? Because they're wanting you to upgrade and not have that branded message. But the rest of it is get our app now, and then I use a Bitly link, and then here's in the production example, I actually have a link in here. So all you had to do was change that text to whatever you want it to be. So you could have, depending on how sophisticated you want your interface to be, you could have something that's very simple. It just says, hey, download our app here. Or if you want it to be a share with a friend, you could customize that there as well. That's it. Really, just those two files, the Twilio library, and you're good to go. So let's look at Twilio itself. So get rid of that. So when you're on their site, they say that they do SMS from mobile devices or websites or whatever. So you can implement it however you want. They've got docs for everything. They've got some example solutions and stuff, and then pricing. And I think their pricing, they're maybe 8 cents. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, not even 8 cents. They're like, what is that? A fraction of a cent per message or something. So, so it's kind of a very affordable solution. And I think you pay like I said, $1 per phone number. So if you wanted to have, depending on what you're doing, if you wanted to have different phone numbers, you could do that. But if you go into your account, so let's look at if you go into your account, you'll see here's your SSID, and then you have an auth token. And those are the two pieces of information that you'll need in your PHP file. And then if you go into numbers, then you get some advanced jQuery logic to it. You could do whatever processing you want. The one thing that I ran across on this Aptoman blog post was that when I pulled out the code from here, it ran into some formatting issues, and I really couldn't figure out what was going on. So I ran it through this JavaScript filter, basically parsed it and kept fiddling with it until basically it validated, and then that's what's available as a download. So I'll put a link in the show notes, but there's a GitHub repo. I took everything that was already put together, and I put it here in a repo under the Corona Geek GitHub. So with a few basic instructions on what you need to do to set it up, and all the files are documented and stuff. So you can go back and read the original article if you want, and then you can work through the example. You will need to download the folder that was part of the solution what was it, the Twilio-PHP folder. You'll need to download that from Twilio. And the reason that I didn't include it was just because I figured it would probably change over time, and you'd be better off getting it directly from their site. Does anybody have any questions about that? Okay, I'm going to assume no. So let me clean up some of these things here. I got a bunch of tabs open. Greg was somebody was giving me Greg, was that you giving me grief before the show at all the tabs?
Yeah, you always have like 1,000 tabs going on.
I do.
You should get your tabs in a row.
Nice. What we're gonna do next? Let's see. We were gonna do. Yeah, we're gonna do AdMobs. Thank you.
I was surprised that AdMob is actually supported on Windows Phone. That's interesting.
Well, I don't think you want to leave anybody out of the market, right? I mean, they'll especially when you're taking money.
Right.
Like Google, they're
deploy it someplace. Deploy it.
Yeah. All right. If you want to go take a look at that, we'll put a link in the show notes, and you can go through it line by line. But we're going to just talk about some of the highlights, things that you'll need to know for adding AdMob V2 to your apps. So, okay, how many people here use AdMob to begin with?
I do.
I recently integrated AdMob to my games.
Okay. Jen, you said you do too?
Yes.
What do you guys think about it overall? Do you like it or not like it? You don't have an opinion yet?
So far, great start. It has the highest eCPM from whatever I used before.
Oh,
Okay.
I've had the exact opposite. I've been very disappointed with the payout from AdMob on this. I'm getting much better response from iAd on Apple.
That's interesting. I'm in Brian's camp.
Yeah, it's kind of so-so for me, but I don't know that there's a way of setting it up so that you can have these other affiliates, like Millennial Media feeds into AdMob, and I'm just not sure that I did it right. I was working
Do you
with
guys use banners or interstitial?
banners. Oh, interstitials.
Interstitial, you'll lose customers.
Yeah, well, it depends on the type of interface, I think. I just did an article on this. I think for games, you can get away with interstitials, but absolutely not for utility or fitness. Don't even go there.
Yeah.
I think interstitial for games works best.
You'll get better return on it, but you might get some bad reviews, so it's kind of like a trade-off.
Yeah, anytime an interstitial game pops up on my system that's free to play, I end up deleting it. I'll put up with banners. I won't put up with interstitial.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, because
banners more than interstitial because banners consume screen space, and I'm always afraid of touching them. No, you don't have such feeling.
Well, I think it's a matter of where you're showing the banners.
Yeah.
I only show banners on between levels. I don't show them on a play level. The detracts from gameplay, and nobody wants to see that anyhow. Now, a utility app, that's a different situation. But if I'm playing it on a game, I'm only going to show a banner between levels.
Mm-hmm. And your banner is paid per impression, not per click?
I think
I've got both.
For me, I thought it was per click, I believe.
Per click. I see. Okay.
interesting.
But there's also a difference on whether you put your banner up top or more towards your nav. You can fool people into clicking on it. It's all like magical trickery, and I don't like
the Flappy Bird technique. Put it right there where that button's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's interesting you say that because that's a lot of that even still goes on online on the web. People are trying to turn things that are ads into menu items, but you have to question whether they're not long term. That has long term value, right? Because
right. I'm going to lose customers if I do that.
Right.
That's anti-productive.
Right. Well, it's interesting that you say that because this whole discussion because AdMob or Google says basically the same thing. They're kind of like don't some of their recommendations are don't put the ads, the banner ads, on the ad during gameplay, on the app during gameplay, because people don't pay attention to that when they're they're involved in the game. They're not paying attention to the ad, so it detracts from the user experience, and it consumes resources in in real estate and all that kind of stuff like that. So I've seen some really good implementations where like you say, Brian, the banners show between between levels or on screens that aren't part of gameplay. And then I don't know. I don't really care about interstitials, but I guess it's just a personal preference for everybody.
I think for me, for interstitials, I don't like them because if they were consistent and I knew where the X, like the quit button was going to be, that'd be one thing. But I've found that interstitials, even from the same serving company, will put the quit button in different locations based on the ad they're showing, which is really deceptive to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
It may be claimed that they make more money, but I think you lose more customers, and it's just not worth it.
You're going to get bad reviews. I mean, I got shellacked until I got rid of that stuff. Really bad.
I have an impression that people, especially on Google Play, got used to all these ads and are not so picky about them.
I really think it's the type. It depends on the type of app, really.
Yeah, it would be worthwhile to summarize or have somebody do a review of target platform, store, type of ad, type of application, etc. Because we're all making judgments based on our own experiences, but then I hear some of us are coming from the Google Play Store, others of us are talking about our experience in the Apple Store.
Right.
We haven't even brought up, are we talking tablets, are we talking phones, etc., etc. So.
Yeah, I almost need a matrix, right?
Yeah.
Just to say, okay, I'm on a tablet and I'm making a productivity app, and you need to use this. That's interesting.
Right, like what works best for the iPhone?
Yeah, because I guess you could slice it even further and say, I'm on a tablet using Android. It's a productivity app, and I want what I want to use. Well, when it comes to AdMob, let's talk about the changes that are happening. So August 31st, basically the legacy AdMob is going to be shutting down. So if you are using AdMob in your apps, you'll probably want to update that before then. In fact, basically your ads will stop serving to legacy ad units, and let's see, only new stuff will be shown, and you won't be able to access the UI. So you won't even be able to manage those legacy ads. So it's pretty important to go out there and update that, especially if you're cross-promoting your own apps with their legacy house ads. You'll want to make sure that you just got everything updated. And so that's going to happen August 31st. So this is July something. We're in kind of the end of the July 28th. So we've got a little bit of time. I know Corona is working on a public release, but if you are a Pro or Enterprise subscriber, you can go ahead today and pull the daily build. So as of 2264 or later, you can update your AdMob to the V2 using the AdMob V2 plugin. And
I've already done this, and it is easy. Just follow the directions that are on the Corona site. And I had all my apps switched over to the AdMob 2 in just a couple of minutes and resubmitted.
Yeah, it's
really easy.
Yeah, it's almost it really is kind of a shame that that Google didn't just flip a flag on their end or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's more to it technically, but it's so easy to do. It's kind of annoying that you even have to do it.
Yes. Yeah.
But also in the next this next version, Google's going to require that you have an Android SDK of 2.3.3 or greater. So that's going to be the minimum. So be prepared for that. If you're using an older version of Android, you'll have to upgrade And as of build 2264, the daily builds, that's been the minimum requirement all along. So again, like Brian said, if you're already working in that space, you're already comfortable for that. For the people who are using the public build, they're just know that that's coming. That change is coming. What else do we have here?
Okay, so I just pulled up while we're discussing this the difference in income between AdMob and iAd, and I've made twice as much off of iAd in the last 3 months as AdMob. So it actually almost double, for almost exactly twice as much off of iAd compared to AdMob.
Now
using banners.
In terms of download?
I'm sorry?
In terms of downloads, how many?
No, just income. I'm only looking at income based off of the two different platforms. Now, I do have to say AdMob has a higher potential because I'm differentiated between iOS builds and Android builds. I'm using AdMob for all of my Android builds, and I'm using iAd for all of my iOS builds. So
can you share your eCPM?
Yeah, I'll have to look at it. Let me find it. eCPM, $1.90 on one game and 68 cents on the other game.
I have $3.50 on AdMob for interstitials.
That was iAd. I'll have to look for AdMob.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. I know AdMob, one of the things that they provide is in-house ads as well. So they're really trying to pull everything together into one interface where you have your monetization, you have your promotion, and you have your analytics. So you'll be able to get your Google Analytics and track through there. So is anybody using any of the in-house ads to cross-promote games and things like that?
I do, a little.
What do you think about that? Do you feel like it's
it works.
Yeah,
it works.
Okay. And Jen, you were mentioning that you could pull in other ad providers. Is that?
Yeah, it's ad mediation. So you're pulling in ads from like Millennial Media and some others. They give you a long list, and then you just supposedly pull them in. I'm just not. You have to create an account on all of those external providers, and then that's pulled in. I suppose it gives you a better variety within your AdMob menu of ads that are shown, and I'm just not 100% convinced that I've done it right.
It is a time-consuming process to do it, and it's. I've only got one or two on my AdMob, which may be why my eCPM is much lower on AdMob compared to iAd. But it is time-consuming to get it set up. But if you are going to go as ad-based revenue is your primary form of revenue, it is worth the time to invest in that.
Definitely.
Yeah, because you want to do two things. Is really, because this is the same on online ad networks. Is basically you want to make sure that all the inventory gets filled, so that and you also which basically means you want an ad shown every time, and you want the highest rate that you can get. The main problem is what?
The main problem is variety of games being promoted, because when you have your ads always shows the same game over and over again. And this is bad, and that's why you have to mediate your ads. I'm using currently in my games interstitial AdMob and interstitial for ad buddies, and together they perform much better than on alone. You can have up to 3, I guess.
So I guess the takeaway from all of this is if you're going to use AdMob, make sure that you've signed up for additional ad platforms so that AdMob is more competitive. Otherwise, you're just kind of giving ad space away to whichever ones you have gone with the default.
Yeah, because their system is supposed to pull the highest payouts. It's supposed to be to the benefit to the developer. So
yeah, AdMob, I'm getting 3 cents for my eCPM, so that's why I'm not seeing nearly as much money from as iAd, and it looks like I just need to go in and go ahead and sign up for some more ad networks. And I'm going to throw this out there. If anybody has a list of good ad networks, if they've done a review of them to use with AdMob, I would love to see that as a developer. That would be a fantastic resource for which ones to go with.
I think on the Facebook users group, there's always a lot of discussion about that, so you might want to open a new thread, see what people are using. I was told InMovie and Millennial Media are the two to use with AdMob. That's what I signed up for. Not that I'm an enormous user of this stuff. But.
After the COPA discussion last week, I'm moving everything to pay as you go, and it's going to be 99 cents and $1.99. And if anybody actually buys it, I will have already made more money than I have for my ads. So.
Yeah. Well, one of the interesting things there would be if we talked about this before, just making sure that you cross-promote your own stuff. So I guess even if you wanted to use just AdMob just for in-house ads, that might be an interesting option, just to leverage their platform for that. So
well, I've actually never done that. That's really interesting. So how do you go about doing that?
Well, in the new interface, I don't know how they did it in the old interface. I haven't used AdMob yet, but in the new one, they have a place where you can define your in-house ads.
Charles, have you asked me about this particular feature, about using AdMob for in-house promotion?
Is it the tab in AdMob where it says promote your app? You're supposed to add.
Right. Yeah, which you might mistake as something you have to pay for, but it's basically in-house stuff.
Oh,
so,
really?
Sergey, what were you saying? Have you used this?
No, I mean I used only custom screen when I just say, hey, I have another game, check it out. So it's not integrated with AdMob or anything else.
Okay.
Yeah, we've kind of talked about that before in the past, I think. But this is something that's got analytics and it's got the in-house promotion, and then I don't know, might be interesting to use. Maybe too heavy. I don't know. Maybe way too intrusive. Hard to tell at this point. Well, when you're setting up these ad providers, basically, like Brian was saying, it's really easy to switch over. So for the most part, when you're working with the Corona ad system, you've got a couple of things that you need to do. You need to initialize the ad provider. Basically say which ad provider you're going to be using, and then you need to show the ad or hide the ad. So one of the things that you do to get things set up is in your build.settings. There's going to be in the plugin section here, you're going to have an entry for Google Play services, which is basically AdMob has moved over everything on top of their Google Play. And so you really just change it you're changing this line here, this entry here, and then the publisher ID, I think it actually even stays the same. I mean, it was something really crazy, but that's it. You're just changing this value in the build.settings, and then from there, everything else pretty much works the same way that it did before. So
there's one more plugin that has to be changed. I think if you scroll down.
Ooh, which one was that?
Go down a little bit.
No, I don't have anything else in here.
Oh, okay. It must have been in the config.
Well, there was.
I think there was something that you went from the AdMob call to. Hold on, let me pull it up. But we had to make a second change too.
Okay.
There were two minor changes.
Well, we'll look that up. The sample here that I have really didn't require too much. Maybe and of course it's a very limited sample, so maybe I'm missing something. But it didn't require too much. I just put that into the settings, into the build.settings, and then in main.lua, really all I had to do was include the library for ads, and then set up some app IDs. So for AdMob, they actually reference them as what do they call them? They're not ad units or ad. What do they call them? Yeah, they call them ad unit IDs. So normally in other ad networks, you have this app ID. AdMob calls them ad unit IDs, and then they want. Not only do they want it broken out by platform, so iOS or Android, they want it broken out by the type of ad that you are going to run. So if you're going to run a banner ad, or if you're going to run an interstitial. And so when you go into AdMob, you'll actually set up entries for both of those. So you'll have an iOS banner and an iOS interstitial, and an Android banner and interstitial, if you're wanting to run all of those. So in this example, it kind of figures out, there's some default values for iOS, and then if you are running on an Android device, which you can find by getting the system.getinfo, you can set those for to the Android IDs. And then when you come down here, you set up your provider. You say, okay, I'm going to use AdMob, and then you initialize everything. So you're plugging in your provider, what kind of ad you want to use, and then you can actually supply a callback function that can do some processing after everything's been initialized, and then you can just show your ad. So if I go back here to my reflector, I actually just built a couple of these just for demo purposes.
And we're supposed to have a new preload coming as well.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the things we want to hit. I have an example of that here too. So
I just checked, Charles. You're absolutely right. It was just that one minor change.
Yeah, there was something about. I think there was something about in what you might have been thinking about in build.settings. There was something about on Android having to add in permissions for like internet and network access.
That hasn't changed. That's what was there before.
But if you're using AdMob, the AdMob plugin, it'll actually pull that in for you, supposedly, according to the documentation. So let's go here to. So here's the banner version. So just as we might expect, if you turn on banners, so like let's say if you were to use this piece of code here, so show banner, and if you had your banner app ID here instead of your interstitial app ID, then that would show the banners. So you would get something like you're seeing there on the right-hand side. And then if you had it set up the other way, you could do interstitials. And it takes just a second to load, which it may not load.
If you have only interstitials without banners, you don't need to supply anything extra to its show function.
You're saying you got it to work without supplying this part?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can show my code if you want.
Yeah, let's do that, because I was messing with this demo before the Hangout, and in the tutorial it talks about using two different codes based on whether or not you want a banner or an interstitial, but then I couldn't figure out how to make it this to be universal. I wanted I wanted to just do one init and one. Or well, not one show, but a show for banner and a show for interstitial.
Can you see my screen?
Let me. Yeah.
So this is my main Lua for my puzzle game. I have two ad providers for interstitial ads. It's AdMob and AdBuddies. And right here, I'm setting up all the IDs.
Well, yeah, when you're having all those extra ad codes and stuff like that, you might want to simplify it. So, okay, good. I'll have to try that. So that's really it. That's the bulk of it. It was, like I said, it was pretty easy to set up and work with. There were a few caveats, like Brian was saying, that that you might want to consider. Bring it back onto the screen. So, it's a good idea to put it where you want it, but if you happen to get it off the screen, then it'll pull it back onto the screen. I'm assuming approximately where you were trying to put it. So like if you were doing let's say you were pushing it down with the Y coordinate and it came off the screen, I'm assuming that it would show up at the bottom of the screen, in relation to where you had said to put it. So that's a kind of an interesting thing. The other thing was ad cycles. You cannot force an ad cycle with a hide or a show. Yeah, it makes sense. So it's good to know. I mean, like I said, it's just good to know that it just doesn't force an ad cycle. You know, it's
So a tool like what Sergey,
in one day.
a tool like what Sergey's created, where it's mediating automatically between multiple ad sources as you're going through, will force that cycling.
Well, yeah, because then you'd be delivering from a totally different network, which would
right.
be
and that's going to up your income if you're going with that direction. A good idea.
Don't say that too loudly. They might hear this and find a way to stop that.
Well, they haven't listened to me so far, so I'm not too worried about it.
All right, good. Well, you haven't talked.
15th, the AdMob V2 plugin will trigger the ad listener function with a phase of shown when the interstitial ad is closed. So if for any reason you want to know that that person has closed the interstitial ad and you want to do something else after that, then again in the ad listener function you could handle that and do something special.
Well, that's useful for when you display the ad between levels or something and you want to use that as an indication and move on to the next level.
Yeah, and exactly, and I think that there for a while that was being
maybe happens to us ad providers.
Very bad experience with Vungle.
Well, yeah, Vungle works best for games, not for
it does.
anything else.
Yeah. So it wasn't Jen. That wasn't necessarily Vungle itself, though. It was just the app that it was the combination of ads with the app category of app, right?
I think their inventory is really not very full featured. I think it's just a very few games that are shown, and it's just didn't work for me. Yeah.
I'm really interested in the in A/B split testing. You're always just changing one small thing, right? But that way you could walk it in, and then you could be as creative, I think, as you want to be.
And that would be a paid service, right? You pay for as many clicks and installs as people give you.
Then we get back into the whole COPA discussion, and
right. Well, they're adding analytics directly in the interface in AdMob.
Yeah, it's there. It's there now, and you can create your own ad, and it gives you lots of tools to do that. I'm just wondering how much it would set you back.
Right. You're wondering about the.
Because I don't roll like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll have to find out and maybe have a discussion on that next time, because I think that I think it would be a good thing, especially if you, like I say, if it didn't cost you a whole lot. New shows out, we try to get them out.
It makes the world a safer place.
It does make the world a safer place. I agree. We try to get the show out every Monday before the end of the business day. That way you can download the podcast and listen to it on iTunes or listen to it on Stitcher or watch it on YouTube, whatever. So if you are subscribed via YouTube, you'll get notified when it's available. So go check it out. And thanks to everybody for being here. What's going on with the thing here? Flava Ed. Greg, you got to send that to me again. Look at that. You got to send that. I love the artwork. It's hilarious. All right. That's it, guys. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next week. Have a great week and happy coding.
Thank you.
Bye.